Are you ready to turn your investments into retirement income? Listen in as Jeremy Keil and his guests reveal ways you can make smarter retirement, investment, and tax planning decisions to achieve your ideal retirement. You will learn more about your money so you can feel better about your money and make better money decisions. Now, on to the show.
Welcome to Retirement Revealed. I'm your host, Jeremy Keil, and we're here to turn your retirement savings into a consistent income. And today we have someone with us who is a business coach and talks about half retirement. Usually we're talking about full retirement, but we've got Jim Muehlhausen on with us. Tell us a little bit about halfretire.com.
Sure. Glad to be here, Jeremy. So Half Retire is for business owners that are looking to keep the stream of income that they've worked so hard to create in their business, but ditch the stress that typically accompanies that income. A lot of business owners feel like if they stepped away or stepped back significantly, it would adversely affect the business. And so they step into selling a pretty good stream of income for a pile of cash that isn't as quality of an asset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people think they're unique, and absolutely you are, but you got to figure if you're running a business and you're running a good business, maybe you have the ability to show someone else how to do that too, right?
Right. And it's a little more complicated than just delegating. That's what's covered in our six-step system is how do you go about protecting that income, getting other people to step into some of your roles, not all of them. I think the difference between half retirement and, say, a Fortune 500 company where others run it for you is a half retired business owner is still participating in the business. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of people that's an attractive option. What we call full retirement, the rocking on the porch with your lemonade or playing golf every day, doesn't seem to be attractive to a pretty large portion of today's business owners.
Yeah, that's maybe how it was in the past. You kind of figure you work hardcore and then you just stop and then you go to zero. And you're saying that it's a lot better, maybe even income-wise, but probably even life-wise to take some steps down to that.
Yeah, there was a study that was done many years ago. It's probably 20 or 30 years ago up in Michigan that studied men that retired and didn't get actively involved in something, whether it be community service or a second career. And the short version is they died very quickly because they didn't have anything meaningful to wake up to in the morning.
Yeah, there's no purpose. And especially if you're somebody, and of course that study was men, and you find that it's becoming more and more females as well too. But you go back a few years, and that's kind of a stereotype that maybe it's the male business owner working hardcore, and then all of a sudden they go to zero, and they're the ones especially that have some trouble. I'll even go, let's run with that stereotype a little bit. Females seem to have just typically a greater network, a greater sense of purpose outside of their own business, and us guys have trouble with that.
Yeah, I think a lot of our business friends tend to be our friends. You have so many connections at work that sometimes you neglect those non-business friends, and people forget that if they stop showing up for work and they stop showing up at their business, they lose a lot of those interpersonal connections. Some of your employees have been with you 25 years, and you may not want to invite them to Thanksgiving dinner, but there's still people that care about you and people that you care about.
Yeah, and if you're half retired, you get your feet on each side of the line. You can maybe get used to full retirement, but also keep those social connections and keep the portions of the income that you were living on before.
Yeah, there's lots of perks to owning a business if you've ever owned a business. I remember I've had a year of my life that I haven't owned a business, and it was horrible because I'm used to the company paying for my car, and I'm used to the meals and the entertainment and all the fun stuff that goes with owning a business. And then I had to shut it off for a year, and it was awful. It reminded me of how good it was to own a business. Yeah,
exactly. And for some people, that's just how they're wired. And if they find anything themselves doing something different, it just feels like they're not the same person as before. And so I just imagine that owning the business still having your fingers in it where you can make decisions and be a part of it is just going to have a lot of fulfillment. Well, I want to talk more about half retirement, but before that, you wrote another book called 51 Fatal Business Errors and How to Avoid Them. Do you mind just sharing a couple of those fatal business errors? Let's try to avoid some of the big ones.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of my favorites is called hiring your competitors' rejects. And this is one of the longer and more beefy ones in there. There's some that are a couple pages. This one's pretty long. But the short version is most business owners want to hire what I call plug and play employees. And that is the person that already understands your industry, already understands your business, and already understands the job, the perfect person. So that's a plug and play employee, just like a USB. I just plug it in and it works the instant it plugs in. I don't need to do any work. And it's easy, but those never work out. And the reason that they don't work out is, why would one of your competitors, because if they come from your industry, they probably work for a competitor. Right. Why would one of your competitors let a great employee go? Especially in today's environment? And the answer is they wouldn't. They're hanging on to their good employees for dear life, just like you are. So why is this person sitting in front of you? And it's because they didn't hang on to them for dear life. They're your competitors' rejects. And when you hire your competitors' rejects, you're just making yourself it's just a much more annoying process, I guess. What happens is it feels good when you do it because you feel like you've solved the problem. You put a check in the box. However,
it's easier to begin with.
You're going to pay for that. Yeah, it's easier to begin with, but in the long run, it isn't. What you want to do is hire people with aptitude, people that have the ability to learn what you need quickly. You hire traits, not skills. And by doing so, that's how you get that A team that we're all looking for. But it's more work up front. You've got to train them. You've got to hire people that are a little bit greener. You've got to be patient. And that's difficult because great business owners usually aren't that patient. It's part of what makes them good entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're looking to hire another advisor right now. There's two of us advising in the firm, and we're growing to the point where we need another third advisor. And so I hired a recruiter to help us out. And I just thought, well, we're going to put together a job description, put it out there on LinkedIn and all the different places. He said, no, you don't want it out there. The only people that are looking for a job are the people that need a job, and you don't necessarily want to hire certain folks in that position. When you're talking about this high level, the senior level of an advisor, you need to go find someone and actually recruit them away. Find someone that's not actively looking for a job, but is actually looking for something different.
Yep, I use an analogy of the Yankees and the Twins, if you're a baseball fan. If you're the New York Yankees and you decide you need an upgrade at shortstop, you just go to a small market team and pay more. You're recruiting from other major league teams, and you just pay more. That's and that's what most small business owners. That's how they operate. Well, I'm just going to go find someone somewhere else. But we aren't the Yankees in small business. We're the Minnesota Twins. We can't afford to pay or outbid Oracle. We're going to be paying B money, not A money, and so there's really not much point pretending that we're going to outbid the big vendor in town. Well, lots of people are struggling with Amazon, right? Amazon just raised their wages $3 an hour. And so now the bar has been raised, and Amazon did it for a reason. They can outpay a lot of the smaller businesses. And so now everybody's going to be scrambling of, what do I do to find people when they can go to Amazon for $3 an hour more than I was offering yesterday? And so when you're the Minnesota Twins, you have to have a farm system. You have to have a place to get these people that is different than the obvious choices. I call it fishing in a different pond. You want to find a pond that nobody's fishing in that has some good fish in it, and then you can make a great team.
Exactly. Well, I love it. I'm glad I asked you about that. I'm going to have to go check out that book, The 51 Fatal Business Errors, because I'd love to avoid that one especially. I imagine the other 50 are just as important to avoid as well, too. So thanks for sharing that, taking a little sidestep outside of a half retirement. That helps me out.
You bet.
Good. Well, let's talk about half retirement. How do you define it? Tell us what half retirement is.
So half retirement is finding a way to cement that business income that people have without doing work they don't like to do, working more hours than they want to work, getting much better work-life balance, and starting to enjoy those 20 or 30 years of hard work that people have put into their business. Now, you can be 35 and half retire, but most people are approaching retirement age or a point where they want to slow down. But when they start looking, and I'm sure you see this all the time, is when you start looking at, okay, here's the non-business assets that I have. Here's what I think I can sell my business for. And can I maintain this lifestyle that I have begun to enjoy? And the answer is no for a lot of business owners, that they make enough in their business that cashing out of that income stream ruins the financial planning. And so they're looking for answers.
Yeah,
and
you were telling me earlier,
a way to cement that in.
Exactly. You were telling me earlier, a lot of people just sell the business because they're frustrated and not because they got a great offer and say, oh, I can't turn down that money.
So if we take I'll give you an example of just how much wealth half retiring can add. So let's take that frustrated business owner, right? People don't sell businesses for money. They sell them because they're frustrated. So they're frustrated. They just don't want to do it anymore. And as you get older, that gets worse because you're just not as willing to put up with the BS as you were when you were 30. And so they've had it. Okay. I just want to wipe my hands of this. And the best way is to just not fix anything. Let's just stop showing up and let somebody else deal with all these problems. So if they sell a business that they make $300,000 on, that's going to yield X amount of additional wealth to them over the course of collecting the money on that, the pile of money that they get, et cetera. But if they half retire for 5 years, which is much more enjoyable than what they're experiencing today, right? I was just on a call with people that had read the book yesterday on a large Zoom call, and some of the business owners were saying, I'm taking 2-3 month blocks at a time off. They're stepping away from their business for a quarter, not a week, not a couple of days, big blocks of time because they followed the process and got the business to not be so dependent upon them. And that's hard for a lot of business owners to envision, but it is possible. That's part of my message is I know it feels impossible, but it's not. There's lots of people that are doing it. But if you half retire for 5 years, you will be worth $1.28 million more than if you sold the business today.
Yeah, that's great. And I imagine why. And you talked about where a lot of this started because interest rates are so incredibly low. It's not like you can sell your business that you had that $300,000 example. Imagine that you got $2 million for that. Imagine you got $3 million for that. You go out and get 1% interest right now. That's only $30,000 a year. How's that going to replace your income from before?
Well, yeah, and then the other bad news is that most business owners, if they have a business that is in fact dependent upon them, right? If they stop showing up, that house of cards starts to come down. It may not be immediate, but it's not going to run as well. Everybody that has enough money to stroke you $1 million check for a business is going to figure out all of the problems with the business. The books aren't right, they're going to find out. That you can't make a big sale without you making it, they're going to find out. There's potential turnover in key positions, the people aren't locked down or happy, they're going to find out. And all of that equals risk. And business buyers don't like risk. And they either don't take risk and buy a different business that doesn't have that, or they absorb it into the price. Right? I'm not going to give you $3 million for a business that makes $300,000. That's a 10x. That's a very good multiple in small business. A 5 isn't that bad. But most people are looking at a 3. They're looking at 3x what they take out of the business a year. You can add your car and your tickets and all the stuff you take back. So if you're taking $300,000, most likely sales price $900,000. Now forget your 1%. I'll give them 5%. On that, which may be hard to get, but
good luck guaranteeing that.
They're not going to but and go, I can do better than 1%. 5% is still nowhere near. $900,000. Don't forget the tolls you got to pay. You got to pay Uncle Sam. You got to pay a business broker. You got to pay all your advisors to just to turn that income stream into a pile of cash. You pay a big toll to do that for the privilege of earning 5% when you're making way more than that. You're making 33%.
Yeah. My goodness. Well, I've got a couple questions. What does it look like when someone is half retired, and how do you actually get there?
Well, we've got a 6-step process to get you there. The first step is to set your magnet, right? If you don't have a reason to half retire, you're not going to be successful in doing it. You've got to have a powerful magnet pulling you towards half retirement. The second thing we work on is your mindsets. This is kind of a surprise. As I was writing the book, I didn't think this would be that important. I knew it was a step in the process, but I wanted to get to the real tightening of the bolts at step 3. But as I got more into it, I realized if you don't have your mindsets aligned with that of half retirement, then you're not going to be successful in doing it. For instance, one of the sayings that we follow is you can get things done the way you like them done, or you can half retire.
Yeah, right.
You ever seen that? Well, I like it done this way. No, there's right and there's not right. There's good enough for the customer and not good enough for the customer. How does not matter and should not matter in half retirement. You've got to be more pragmatic about it. If the work is getting done in a fashion that is profitable and acceptable to the customer, check next.
Yeah, there's a business person named Dan Sullivan. He wrote a book called Who, Not How. He said all these people are focused on how you do something, and they're either telling their employees how to do it. It's almost like, why have the employee? Just do it yourself. or they're focused on how to figure out the next problem and forget how to figure out the next problem. Just figure out who already knows to solve the next problem. So if you find the right who in your life, then your business is more valuable. You get more stuff done, and it seems like you're right in alignment with those ideas.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't have those who's in their business. I think the business owner acts as a catch-all for a lot of work. Maybe your business is different, but a lot of business owners end up doing the work that either no one has the time to do, no one has the talent to do, or the experience, and they just become this magnet for all that hodgepodge. We call it the hairball. It's this big hairball of work, and you can't delegate a hairball. It's too many different things. It's too much variety. It requires too much of what you know. So what we focus on is untangling that hairball, finding your Picasso work, which is that super valuable work that only you can do, and that is undelegable. We ban the word delegation from Half Retire because people make it too simple. They go, oh, well, figure out what you want to delegate, find someone else to do it, and show them how. That's never worked for a business owner, not a small business owner. It's much more complicated than that. And if you address the process and the complication of getting rid of the hairball, it can be done. But a lot of business owners have given up on trying to get rid of their work. That's why they're 67 years old and still working 55 hours a week, is because they haven't figured out how to get that who, because it's not just as simple as hiring Bob or Mary, bring them into your office and say, I'm not going to do this anymore, you do it.
Right. Yep. That's exactly it. And I heard another analogy one time. They said, remember those glass bottles? And they had a bottleneck? The bottleneck's at the top. So if there's any bottlenecks in your business, first place to look is at the top. And it's great. You've got a system to help get rid of that bottleneck, which oftentimes is the business owner.
Oh, always is the business owner. It's not. That's not a knock. That's the reality. The business owner is probably the most talented person in the building. By definition, they're going to be the bottleneck. If they're not, they have bigger problems.
Yeah, you got it. Interesting. Well, when you find somebody and when you change your business around that it's not dependent on you as a business owner, I imagine that a lot of the different financial connections and maybe ways that you have your employees protected or part of your financial employee benefits that are going to have to change. What type of, I don't want to use the word accounts, but what type of advantages, things should be people looking at financially when they are a business owner trying to bring people in to be part of this situation, like employee benefits, things like that?
I think that comes under protecting your key people, right? Locking up that A team that you've got, that it's going to be very difficult to run the business without them. And everyone has that running list. I'm working with several clients on this. A lot of times we'll use everything from insurance products to phantom stock is a great way to lock those people up, depending on whether you're willing. I am a huge fan of phantom stock. I am not a fan of actual stock. You see a lot of people going, oh, well, I want to lock up Mary and I'm going to give her 3% of the company every year and then I'm going to lock her up. And that is a horrible idea. You almost never need to give actual stock. It's painful in more ways I even want to get into. We could do a whole podcast episode
that's what I was thinking.
On the tragedy that creates.
Yeah. Well, it's good. That's another way, too, because you've got business owners that think, I don't want to necessarily give up the ownership, but I do want to reward employees that are creating extra value. And that's a new term for a lot of people. I've heard about it for years and know a few lawyers and advisors that are right in line with what you're saying, that you can help people participate in the upside of the business through the phantom stock plan compared to actually having or giving or selling the specific equity part of it. So I'm glad to hear you're talking about that, too.
Well, and you may want to protect yourself with the key person policy for those. Let's say you have 5 key people. You are going to become more dependent upon those key people in half retirement. And there's ways that we want to both lock up their employment, make sure that we're checking in with them and that their job satisfaction is good, because their highest and best use should be working for you. If this is a key person, their highest and best use should be working for you, and you shouldn't have to worry about them leaving as long as you pay them well, treat them well. But you can't control life circumstances, and it's going to be a business disruption if they have a problem. And so a key person policy may be in line for some of those people to protect you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is sounding like, I'm going to say it sounds like a lot of work, but at the same time, you're doing a lot of work already if you're the business owner. This is just a lot of different work that seems to give you a big payout in the end, to say that you can become half retired as opposed to getting rid of the frustration by taking less money by selling it. You can hopefully get rid of the frustration by making your company more self-managing, a better situation where you can be the strategic person compared to maybe the day-to-day type of person. How can someone learn more and start getting involved in becoming a half-retired business owner?
Yeah, there's a couple things that they can do. Obviously, they can pick up the book, Half Retire. It's at any bookstore, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, any of that. You can find it there. There's also a great download. We call it the Blueprint. So it's going to go through the 6 steps that I'm talking about, and you can download that for free on our website. You can just go to halfretire.com and you'll get led to it. It's on the homepage. Just download that, and that'll give you the gist of what needs to get done.
And you were telling me you have a webinar and maybe a course too as well?
We do. So if someone wants to learn more than just you can discover in the book, right? Like you said, it's a more complicated process than just, hey, that's a great idea, I want to work less. Sometimes you get that. They go, yeah, I'm just going to start taking Mondays off. I'm half retired. That always, in about 6 months, boomerangs and comes back and equals problems. That's like abdication instead of delegation. We have a robust learning management system that people can use. We have coaches that people can work with if they want to partner in their half retirement. But it's got some amazing stories. There's lots of good ones on the websites that you can read about people that have, a woman that cut her workload in half in 6 weeks entirely through mindset. That she was her own worst enemy. She had promised her husband that they would retire together, and 2 years later, she still wasn't retired. Wow. And so she said, you know what, I've got to uphold this. He's getting bored with me not being here. He liked golfing for the first 6 months. But yeah, it's a process that requires different work. I think you said it great to say, listen, you're already putting in X amount of hours. We don't need you to work more hours than that. What we need you to do is work smarter and work differently and get to tightening the bolts on the systems of the business so that it can work to your advantage. We promise people that we can find them half a day off in the first month. If you can't get 4 hours, half a day back in the first month, something is seriously wrong. Either they're not doing the work that we need to do, or it's just a really horrible fit for half retirement, because that's really not a hard goal to attain.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is good. And I can think of a lot of people that are approaching the retirement age, wondering what they're going to do, how they can sell their business, what they'll do even if they do sell their business. And half retirement is going to be a great way for them to make that transition. We're going to have in our show notes the links to your webinar, to your book, to the course. I've got right in here the halfretire.com, so you can download that Half Retire Blueprint. I imagine that's going to be a great start right there. What else should people know about half retirement?
I think they need to assess what their personal goals are. No one wants to think about what they're going to engrave on their tombstone, and sometimes retirement feels that way. Gee, what's the future look like? But what do you want your future to look like? Because how you spend your day today, tomorrow, this month is going to dictate what a year from now looks like. And if you keep on slogging away, you don't want to know how many 65 or 70-year-olds I talk to that say, gosh, I wish I would have found you 5 years ago. I wish I would have done something. And whether you do one of the half retire programs, buy the book, or any of this, think about what you want your business to be. Your business is there to serve you, not the other way around. Plenty of people go, I have a quote a client told me a long time ago. He goes, if I didn't own this place, I'd quit. It's one of my favorites. He was frustrated, obviously. But if you haven't felt that way, you haven't owned a business.
I suppose.
But we feel trapped, right? Oh, I've got to work on Saturday, or I've got to do this. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. The way that everything is structured now, you do, right? You don't want to deal with the consequences of not doing it. But one of the guys on the call yesterday said that if it is not worth $10,000 an hour, he does not have the luxury of doing that work. He's not cranking out a proposal or a spreadsheet.
Well, it just shows how much he values his time, and probably also shows how much value he's adding to his clients. If he can feel like his own time is worth that dollar amount, there's two ways to look at it. Make sure you're actually, when you come in and are doing things in your business, make sure you're adding value to the business or to your clients, probably both at the same time, that's worth such a high dollar amount. Or think through, what is it you could be doing instead? And if it's worthwhile, are you going to go, like you said, do the spreadsheet or take out the trash or go hang out with your kids or go golfing and go on the sailboat, anything you want to do. What's that value to you? You got to make sure it's actually worthwhile. When you think of it that way, almost in terms of a dollar amount, you're thinking, why am I doing this when I could be doing something else?
That's that magnet. And a lot of people won't give themselves permission. We do an exercise with our clients called Dare to Dream, because business owners won't. They won't think, gosh, I could go sailing a 3-day weekend every weekend if I wanted to. Yes, you can, but they won't go there. They won't give themselves, I need to do this. All the shoulds interrupt that. So I would say, if you want to just do something right now, if you're not driving, make a list of the work that you do not enjoy. You should not be doing it. I don't care how valuable it is. Work you don't enjoy, you don't do well. Someone else can probably do that better, or we can find a way to get rid of it. Sometimes we had a client stop sending invoices. He was complaining that 30% of his time was back office, and we were able to trim a bunch of it by literally just changing the business model a little bit and changing how he operated, and we stopped sending invoices. So much for that time. I don't need someone to delegate it to. We're just not going to do it.
Well, I like what you're saying there, Jim. I think that's just right on and great advice for anybody, whether they're planning to half retire or not. Just think through the things that you don't like to do, even hate doing, because half the time it might be things that are not valuable and should just be stopped. The other half the time, you might be able to find somebody else who has that exact unique ability to say, I love doing that kind of stuff. And you'll be better off not doing it. They'll be better off because they'll be doing the things that they enjoy. So I think that's just great advice, whether you're planning on half retiring or just in general. You're just a person in general. Take that advice from Jim right there. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jim. It's been so much fun talking with you. I think a lot of our clients, a lot of our listeners are going to very much enjoy this. I'll tell you this, we just hit top 25 on Apple Podcasts a couple days ago. So excited about that for the retirement podcast area. And there's going to be a lot of people that are getting a lot of value from what you're talking about on how do you go about setting up your business to become half retired. What final words might you have for us?
Business is supposed to serve you, and business is supposed to be fun and something you're excited to get up and do every morning. And if you're not getting financially, spiritually, emotionally what you want from your business, fix it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today, Jim. Thank you for your words, your advice, for setting up the half retire concept and helping a lot of people through this. And I want to say thank you to all the listeners. Thanks for helping us get to the top 25 on Apple. That was fun to see. And thanks for listening every day to the Retirement Revealed podcast. We believe if you know more about your money, you will feel better about your money, and you will make better money decisions.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Revealed podcast. Click on the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit retirement-revealed.com to learn more. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Keil Financial Partners. Keil Financial Partners does not provide legal, accounting, or tax advice. Consult your attorney or tax professional. Representatives have general knowledge of the Social Security tenets. For complete details on your situation, contact the Social Security Administration. Keil Financial Partners is a part of the Thrivent Advisor Network, a registered investment advisor. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.